Blue Building will probably be light industrial prototyping, but also our artist places where artists can live and work. So it should be a vertical city, more or less. On the ground floor there will be also small dedicated retail galleries, stuff like that. Yeah, so we talked about the people in the buildings a lot, but I think our buildings are always on this earth somewhere where there's nature too. I don't think nature stops at the border of a city. So for us, we are also trying to find out where we are in relation to nature. So we use the economy we create to create new ecology as well. And sometimes it's around better buildings, but it's also directly involved in nature, in the ecological integrity of where we live. So all our projects have programs where there's bees. Bees struggle. If bees struggle, humankind struggles, maybe even much more. Our food struggles. So it's important for us that we do our little bit and try to do something with bees around our projects. Sometimes we also have to do something with fruit trees, for instance. Around our projects, we try to create biotopes for insects. They're not too big, but it's the little thing that we can do. And in the greater scheme of things, I think it's very important that we rethink the future of our food. And I think we can create food in cities much better, maybe even in buildings. We can interact with nature much better. We can try to understand nature much better. So for instance, with bees, it's not just making sure that the bees are there and pollinate. But we can learn a little bit more. There's a lot of medical uses that we can use for bees. So for instance, for asthma treatments and burn victim treatments, we're really looking into what bees have to offer. And these are great projects, not just projects for the bees, but also for new jobs. So a lot of things come together in one of our projects. So our projects always have many, many layers. We're first in, last out. We're trying to go through all of that with the whole community and build it. And that's also why no other developer really likes what we're doing. They can't do the same thing. For us, it's very complicated, and we have to train a lot of people, and it's always a challenge. But we believe that this is also a community of life. And in the community of life is much easier, much more organic, much more future resistant, much more resilient than just having a building where we work and a building where we live and a building where we go to the swimming pool. It should all be one community of life. That's what we hope to create. That's what we hope to demonstrate. And if people see it, we hope they get inspired and try to do the same thing. Maybe it's not the right thing, but we believe it is. And if you really read the Earth Charter and you go through all those different phases where people have influence on how they want to live, on their own governance, where they're part of the community of life, which is very important for us, where they live in an ecological environment, not just in an urban environment, even if it's almost the same at a certain spot. Where we're talking about fair business and fair finance and fair industry, where we try to leave no one behind. If you're really looking at what a certain area has to offer, maybe you don't have to leave anyone behind because there's enough for everybody to share. But you have to break through barriers. You have to be confident enough to be a disruptor because you have to go through the industry. You have to involve and persuade a lot of people, banks, governments, colleagues. You have to hire the right people. And that's a learning process that's very important for us. And for us it was also a process of learning. And I feel so privileged and so happy that I met the Earth Charter just after it was launched. I followed it a little bit, but then it was launched in Holland. There's a lot of people that I knew that were involved. And I was so happy that I got to know Mr. Ruud Lubbers. And as soon as we started talking, he also explained that we have the Earth Charter with all the ethics. But how do we bring it to action, and especially in where I work, in cities? So this was just a great challenge, to read through the principles of the Earth Charter and then see how do they match the principles of sustainable urban development or just urban development or effective urban development. So Earth Charter and Ruud Lubbers were very important, but also Jane Jacobs in her vision about how cities should act for people. And at the same time, a long time ago, I was trained by a professor named Jan Penn. He was an economist, and he talked about ecology more than economy. Maybe we should change our tax system so we can provide for a better economy for us all based on better ecological principles. So I started working and thinking about the principles and basically trying to draft a document that we call the Earthcharter Cities Manifesto. So basically it combines all the principles of the Earthcharter in a different order, but they're all in there. But also principles of urban development. The achievements that we learned from Jane Jacobs and Larry Beasley, how to really build cities for people, how they interact, how you bring ecology in cities, how you make walkable cities, how you design well, how you develop in a different way. Those are very interesting. There's also principles in there about fair business, fair finance, very important. This is the inspiration that I got from Jan Penn, and they all were brought together in a document. Again, 16 principles. All the Earthcharters are in there and others, and we hope we can put that into action in cities. And once we launched that, I think the first drafts were in 2007. We launched it, I think, in 2010. But we were also discussing how are we going to use this. And because when we started interacting with cities, they were very interested in the Earthcharter Cities Manifesto as well as in the Earthcharter, but they didn't know how to really apply it. And you have to understand that cities are approached by many certification systems, LEED, BREEAM, ISO, there's so many of them. All these systems that say, you should adopt this for a sustainable city. And cities told me, it's too much. We don't know what to do. We're paralyzed because every month there's maybe 400 of those that approach us, and they all want to be the system in our cities. The current one is passive house in a lot of cities. And I thought, Earthcharter or the Earthcharter Cities Manifesto cannot just be another certification system. It's about ethics. It's not about certain direct goals. I think we should go back to the ethics. And I really thought that Earthcharter Cities and Earthcharter should be about understanding where the ethics are. So look at yourself first, which is, I called it self-assessment. This is the best tool for self-assessment. Look at yourself. If you don't understand, if you don't know if you thought about everything, read the Earthcharter. It's about everything. And why is it about everything? Because everyone was involved to draft this document. There's no better document. That's also why it's so easy to accept it. That's also why it's sometimes so hard to put it to action. That's why I try to get it to action. And for me, after self-assessment, it's about, self-awareness and self-assessment. It's about making action to self-improvement. Does it important if I improve through a BREEAM system or to a LEED system or to a passive house or something else? But if I demand from myself and my team that I do better every year, 15%, the next year 15%, and whatever I want to choose, maybe I want to buy fair trade 1 year and keep going, and the next year I want to have a better energy system, but I improve myself every time. That's what the whole world should do, and make your choices on how you want to do it. And of course, the last part is, share it. You should report on it. Self-reporting is also very important. You can put it on your website, in your year reports, or whatever you want to do. But the self-awareness starts with Earthcharter. The self-assessment is the principles or the Earthcharter Cities principles. The improvement is a plan. Talk to your team, think about what you can do, and make that improvement, and then report on it, and then hope that that inspires others as well. That's very important for what I'd like to do with my company. And then sometimes it's as easy as not buying plastic straws, but others, or better recycling systems, or what I said, invite someone to put beehives on your roof, or just a few solar panels, or there's so much you can do, and if you improve 15%, that's important. And there was another reason why I thought this was very important too, because if you talk about certification systems and you talk about the city of New York, how can you compare New York and what they should do with the city of Lagos in Nigeria? And I did talk to the city of Lagos, and they said, you can't we can't be LEED, we can't be even Earth Charter in the same assessment as New York, because this is a new colonization. We should decide how we want to improve. And that's what I thought too. If Lagos improves 15% per year, that's so much more than for the community of life and the earth than if New York improves 15% per year. So let them make the choices in how they want to do it, but why they want to do it is the Earth Charter. And that's why, for me and my company, we will always go back to the Earth Charter as a field of ethical choice. And within that, we'll choose how we want to do it and what we're going to deliver to prove it.